everybody. Welcome back to I'll Read What She's Reading. I'm Reggie.
I'm Michaela.
And I'm Kennedy.
And today we're discussing The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. And what a doozy.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really know what I was getting myself into with this book, but wow, we have a lot to discuss.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to get started with that. And at the end of our episode, we will be telling you our book club book for April.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy.
The most popular book release month of the year.
Yeah.
So I bet you're on your toes
Mhm.
wondering, what are they going to pick?
Which one?
There's like 7 or 8 books that are releasing in April.
It was actually a really, really hard pick, but we
It really was.
feel confident
Mhm.
about
Yeah.
it. So
stay tuned.
we're just sprinkle little breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
Did I just say that? Sprinkling little breadcrumbs for you guys.
Yeah. So yeah, this is going to be a spoilery episode for The Poppy War. So if you haven't read the book, you can join us next Wednesday or join us at the beginning of next month for our book club book. Go to our Instagram to go see what that is. And yeah, let's begin with our ratings, because we start off every book club episode and we don't talk about the book with each other. This is a new thing we've done the past few months. We don't discuss anything about the book unless it's like a Fable update.
Mm-hmm.
We don't share anything. So I have no idea what you guys have rated this book. Does anyone want to go first?
I don't know. Does anyone I'm kind of unsure of my rating still.
I mean, I did finish this book 3 weeks ago, so I feel like I know because I've
Okay.
sat with
Okay.
it for a
Yeah.
while.
Go first then.
So for me, I'm going to rate it 4 stars. At the beginning of the book, I was like, oh, this is going to be a 5-star read. When she's at the college and just the beginning, I was locked in. I was obsessed. I was eating it up. And then towards the middle, it lost me for a second. And then at the end, it brought me back in. And I'm very stingy. And I think these two are also very stingy with their 5-star reads. So a lot of the books I feel like for our book club, we rate 4 stars just because it's just not quite there. It just needed a little bit more. And I'm confident that maybe the next few books in the series, they will be 5-star reads. But yeah, it just lost me a little bit in the middle. But this was so unique. I've never read an Asian-inspired fantasy. I've never watched a TV show. I mean, I've seen Mulan. But other than that, I haven't really dove into this type of fiction. And I was obsessed.
Mm-hmm.
It was so unique. And I loved a lot of the characters, which we'll get into some of my favorites a little bit later. But for me, literally the only reason I didn't give it 5 stars was just the middle lull. And also the ending didn't have me wanting to get into the next book. It kind of just fell a little flat for me almost. But yeah, overall, obsessed.
Love. I feel very similar to the way you felt about this book, specifically about you saying how at the beginning you were just so enthralled and thinking it was going to be this big 5-star read for you. I felt the exact same way. I also felt like the middle, and here's the thing, I think, so I'm gonna give it 3 stars. I do think I would have rated it 4 stars had I not had this weird little reading funk that I got in, because I got to that little lull in the middle, which is interesting because when I was reading some Goodreads reviews, a lot of people felt like they weren't bored at all, but then people on our Fable were saying I'm having a hard time getting through this book. So just kind of goes to show that everyone has a different experience with this book. But yeah, it got to a point where, and this was probably just a me problem. I was so tired on a Sunday and I was laying on the couch and I was I just want to read. And I read 2 chapters and those chapters are long. I could not tell you what I had, I finished them and I was I don't even know what I just read. And I think it was because I was just so tired. And then I had to kind of go back and read them again. And I just took myself out of the book for a little bit. And I had a hard time getting back into it because of that. So I think a lot of it was a me problem. I think I ruined my reading experience a little bit by doing that unintentionally. But I did love how unique it was. I think I was really captivated by this book because of the fact that it is based on true events. So I did really like that, even though I didn't like it at the same time because of how heartbreaking and so like sad it is. But yeah, I will say though, the one thing I did really like the ending. Because it wasn't really what I was expecting, and it does. I will say, like in the middle, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to continue on reading these books, but after the ending, I was like, maybe I will. So I don't know. I have like very conflicting feelings, so that's why I'm like giving it a 3 because there was a lot that I really loved, but that middle part really just threw me for a loop in my reading experience. I didn't set myself up for a good time, unfortunately, but yeah, sorry, I just talked in circles. But
No,
Michaela,
that was great. I was kind of debating between like 4.5, but I think I'm gonna stick with 4. And I feel similar to you guys. It was really funny because there was like moments where I was having like conversations with myself where I was like, I did not expect the book to go in the direction that it did.
100%.
And it's not like I knew everything that was going to happen in the book, but it just like kind of threw me through a loop with like the direction that everything went. And it's not that I disliked it, but it kind of was like, oh, like I wasn't expecting this, to happen, or like the storyline to go in this direction. And I really liked it. I kind of like how it made me question a lot of like moral things, and I feel like it was really great, but there were some parts where I think they were necessary, but they were harder to read and like get through. And not necessarily that they were hard topics, but it was just like I don't really know what direction this book is going in. Kind of like, the lull parts that they were saying, like the middle portion. And I feel like I was in a little bit of a reading slump, and so I kind of had a little bit of a harder time getting through the book. Not that I didn't like it, but I just my motivation to read was really at an all-time low during this book. And so maybe it's one of those books where you'll grow to appreciate the first book after you read the second and third. But I do see the potential for the second and potentially third to be like 5-star books. Because I feel like definitely this was a book that kind of had to set everything up. And yeah. And I kind of, the ending, I was like, I wish she would have, this is me loving cliffhangers.
Yeah.
There kind of was a cliffhanger, but not really. And it's just like one of those books where you can be like, okay, this portion, it's almost like a season, right? Like a season of a show where like it's kind of like everything's a little bit resolved, but you know where the next book is going to go. Maybe. I don't know. After this first book, I have no idea maybe where the direction of the second book is going to go. But yeah, I thought it was 4. I can understand why people would have a harder time with this book.
For sure.
Because I know a lot of people, I was reading some comments are like, I'm having a really hard time getting through this book. It is, it's a little bit more heavy on like topics, and I was gaslighting myself into thinking some things just because it's more normal for things to be added into books, and like it wasn't in there. And so I think it kind of was fun for it to be so different.
Reading this book was kind of a trip for me because I've only ever read one other R.F. Kuang book, but it was quite literally a complete 180 from this book. I read Yellowface, and just to see how diverse she can write between those two books was a really cool experience for me because they are not alike in any way, shape, or form. To see her go from kind of just the straight fiction to this epic war fantasy book was insane. And I just think R.F. Kuang has such a talent.
Didn't she wrote this book when she was 22? Is that right?
I have no idea.
She was 19.
Or maybe it was published when she was 22.
Yeah.
She is incredible.
And there were so many times reading this where I would read certain quotes and I would have to stop and be like, wow, that is top tier.
Yeah.
So many quotable things. In our Fable group, I was seeing so many people do
Yeah.
the little quote sticker thingy.
I loved it.
Yeah, I'm obsessed. R.F. Kuang is top tier in my book.
Yeah, she's in a league of her own for
Mhm,
sure.
mhm.
And I was listening briefly to someone was kind of like, I was watching a YouTube video on kind of like the history of the Poppy War and like R.F. Kuang and her story a little bit. So I only got like a little glimpse of it, but just hearing like what she studied in school and like all the schooling she's done and all the things that she has done from the time that this book was published is wild to me. Like, just major props to her.
She's a smart gal.
She did her
Mhm.
research. She knew her stuff. And I feel like I finished this book and I had such a big appreciation for just overall history and just, yeah, like the time and effort that she put into this story. So,
Well, you know, sometimes you read books and you feel dumber after reading them. I felt maybe a little bit smarter after this book. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because I learned so much about the history and culture. I have no idea, but I felt a little smarter, you know?
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I wish I felt more like that when I read books. So,
Most of the time I'm like, oh,
Most of the time I
my
feel
IQ
dumb.
dropped 2 points after
Yeah.
this book.
all right, let's discuss our faves and our least faves, starting with the faves. I'll start with one, if you guys don't mind. I feel like there's probably like, would you say like there's 3 parts in the book, correct? Out of the 3 parts, which were your favorites? Because I think you said was the first part your favorite?
I would say, yeah. Part 1
Yeah,
was probably my
same.
favorite, and then part 3 and part 2 was my least
Yeah.
favorite.
I would say I really liked part 1 because I mean, the chapters were long. I'll just really quickly say that was like a least fave. But there was so much that happened by like the end of the first chapter that I was surprised at how quickly I was just drawn into the story and so invested. I loved seeing her just journey to getting to the school, and it was really refreshing to, maybe I shouldn't say refreshing because I know there's other fantasy books that have a similar-ish story, okay? I say that like loosely. But she was someone who chose to do this. Like, she wasn't being forced into anything with like the school part. Like, she wanted to study for that. She wanted to go. And she worked her booty off. And it was so exciting to read about all of that she just put everything into it. And for me, that was like my favorite part of the whole book, because I just thought her character development was very interesting in this book, but specifically in the beginning, I really enjoyed, her meeting everybody at the school and just that overall first part. I guess that's not anything like super specific.
That's okay.
But yeah, it was really fun to read all that and just seeing where like especially after the book ended, seeing where everyone started from the beginning to where they ended up was one of my favorite parts. Like the overall character relationships. So
I remember reading it being like, so much happened in this book.
yeah,
From the beginning to the end, it's almost like there was 3 books written. Genuinely, part 1, part 2, and part 3, which I appreciate and love. One thing that I liked, and this isn't on my list, but I kind of liked how she skipped over. I feel like there was a little bit of a time, like kind of time jumps. There wasn't a lot of repetitiveness. There wasn't, let's have them train and train and train and train and train for 5 chapters. And we're like, okay, we get it. They're training. It was talked about and touched on, but it wasn't harped on, if that makes sense.
yeah, everything felt very intentional, which I really liked.
Yeah. Which the book was long, but it didn't, there was a time where it felt long, but it also didn't feel long.
I think, okay, I agree. The beginning part was probably my most favorite. And I feel like I was the most heavily invested in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But one specific thing that I was like screaming, kicking my feet at was when Najah and Rin were fighting I forget his name, the general together.
I don't think we know you're talking about the Federation general, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if we know his name.
I can't remember, but that it probably was my favorite part because they had this really like hate for each other, but then at the end of the day, they were fighting for the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just really loved that they like despise each other so much. And then when it came down to the nitty gritty, they were fighting for the same thing. And so like when they like he came and like helped, he got like stabbed, and then she, finished it off. I just loved that part. I was like, let's go. I loved that part. So that was probably like my most favorite part. And then when he like came, when she was with the psych,
yes,
and then
he
shows up with like I just loved because like I had an inkling that it was not gonna last with hatred.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And so like I just loved how they were kind of trying to figure out this relationship of like we hate each other so much and we are competing against each other, but like we need to try to mend a friendship,
Yeah.
So
well, and it was kind of ironic when he showed up to, I know the name of starts with a K. The city that they're in.
Okay.
Coeur d'Alene. Coeur d'Alene. That's the city that the psych are in,
Okay, yeah.
I think. It's almost like she was craving that familiar face. And so he showed up and she was like, oh my gosh. And also I think that fight was the turning point in their relationship when they decided that they could probably be friends. Yeah, that was super epic. Yeah. Love that. I don't have like a specific, well, I do. I have a very specific quote that I really loved, but kind of a little bit more broad things that I really, really loved is I just feel like these characters were so complex. There was so many layers and they changed so much throughout the story, which I really, really liked. And I really loved Rin's journey to being the anti-hero. Like she starts, and I never would have thought that at the end of the book she would have lit up and killed all of these people. Never would have thought that she would have became this person that literally killed an entire city. Because at one point in the book, I'm trying to remember where it's at, but she has this internal monologue and this internal struggle of she doesn't know if she could ever actually kill anyone. She doesn't know if she's strong enough for that. And then by the end of the book, she kills hundreds of people. So I really liked that. And I think it was Michaela kind of talked about this earlier, but there were so many moral dilemmas in this book that I really enjoyed kind of having this experience within myself, wondering who is actually the bad guy and who's the good guy, who to root for, who is actually doing good in this war. I thought that was really interesting and fun. And there were just so many characters that I loved, and the side characters, I always love the side characters. I don't know what it is, but Katai and Katai? Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
I didn't listen to the book, you guys.
Sorry.
So if I'm butchering the names, I'm so sorry.
Katai.
Katai and is it Zhang?
Wang.
No, the
Zhang.
lore guy. Is it Wang? How you pronounce his name? The lore master?
Zhuang?
The one
think
that
it's Wang.
Yeah, the lore master.
Zhang.
Katai, Zhang, and
I actually don't know. I can't remember.
who was the other one? Rams?
Olin?
No, Ramza. Ramza?
Mm.
The kid in the psych that blows everything up. I was obsessed with them. So overall, I just think it was so good and so different. Oh, I was also going to say, sorry. The quote that I was obsessed with, and I found myself relating to Rin a lot because I have a type A personality. I have this like high achieving personality, and like if I fail at something or if I don't do something to my best ability, it's like it eats me alive. And I feel like Rin is very much that way.
Mm-hmm.
So there was this quote, and it was one of my Goodreads updates. It's on page 95. And it is, achievement was a high, failure was worse than withdrawal. And I was like, I read that and I closed my book and I was just like, that is me in a nutshell. I get this high when I get praise or I achieve something. And if I fail, it's like the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So Rin was me in that moment. Last thing I'll say is I do have the special edition of the book. And so reading throughout the book and being able to turn a page and have this insanely gorgeous illustration of certain scenes made my reading experience so much fun. I'm not saying you need to go run and buy the special edition or the collector's edition, but they were incredibly well done and it helped me picture things that much more.
Were the illustrations the same artist from the cover? Because I did learn that the cover was drawn by the same artist that did the Avatar, what's it called? The Last Airbender.
Avatar.
Yeah, Avatar. Did the
I don't know.
Avatar
I don't know. I would assume yes.
anime.
I would assume yes. So
I feel like it had a similar style as like the
I thought that was kind of
original
cool that she
Poppy
got
Ward.
them to do that. Whoever.
You're talking about like the special edition cover, or are you talking about the original
I'm
Poppy
talking
Ward
about
cover?
the original Poppy Ward cover. I was just wondering if it was the same
I'm not sure,
person, but
I have no idea.
I
But
just learned
they
that little
were
tidbit, and I thought that was kind of cool.
they were insane.
Yeah,
they were so good.
Yeah, that's way cool. I meant
Mhm.
to ask you how the illustrations were. So
They were really good. I'm sure
Cool.
someone somewhere has posted them. I was going to post more in the Fable group chat. I only posted one, but yeah. I believe there was one illustration. I can't remember if it's when Rin and, how do you say his name? Najah?
Najah.
I can't remember if it's their original fight in the combat class when she gets kicked out, or if it's at the end of the school year when they're fighting each other in the ring. There was this epic illustration of them fighting, and it was so good. It was so good. I'll have to post them
So
to our
sweet.
Instagram so you guys can see them, but yeah.
cool.
We're moving
Yeah.
on to our least faves now.
Yeah.
I feel like we might say all the same thing. Maybe not. But I feel like it was unnecessary.
You go first.
Oh, the chapter 21.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was my favorite thing to read, but I feel like it was necessary.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
You know? Like, I don't know. And then maybe like the it's me problem, the lull for me
Yeah.
in the beginning. Or, I mean, middle. I don't know. I feel like there's not a lot of things that I can, like, nitpick
Mhm.
with, like, being my least favorite thing. The reason why, similar to Kennedy, couldn't rate it 5 stars is it wasn't quite there,
Mhm.
at least for me. So, but, like, as far as least faves, I think chapter 21 was the hardest chapter to read.
Oh, I think that's like the hardest thing I've ever read. Ever.
I
Yeah.
felt physically ill.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so did I.
So a fun fact about me is I don't have a sense of smell. But reading that chapter, for some reason, there was this smell that I could just smell, that I knew that was there in that environment while they were walking around, and it like actually made me want to vomit. But yeah, I do think it was a necessary evil, because this war is completely brutal. And I don't know, we'll get into it later, but this specific chapter is inspired by something that actually happened, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, which is so sad. But
It was gut-wrenching.
Is that like your least favorite part, you would think, or?
the only thing I put as my least favorite is how long the chapters were. That was honestly
Yeah,
my
that's
least
true.
favorite part.
I have a question. Do you know, maybe, I don't know, maybe next time we have an author, we need to ask about like chapter lengths and like why some people have longer chapter lengths and why some people have shorter ones. Like, I genuinely want to know like the thought process behind chapter
Yes,
lengths.
no,
I don't know.
seriously.
Because
Seriously.
it's not like I don't know, maybe it's to make the story run better, but I feel like if she would have like broken up some of the chapters, I wouldn't have been upset. Or
Yeah, I would say honestly, that was my least favorite part, and then just that little lull.
Yeah. One thing for me to add is that like there were a few times I had like a hard time completely understanding what was going on. I feel like that's part of like that was expected. Yeah, there were a few times where I had to like go back and like read a paragraph again because I was like, wait, what is happening right now?
I think
So-
for me the most confusing chapter was let me see. I don't know what chapter it was. I'm so sorry. It's a chapter where her and once again, you guys, I didn't listen to much of this, so I don't know how to pronounce his name. Chagan? Chagan? The seer?
Yeah. I
I'm
think
sorry.
you're saying it right.
I'm sorry
Maybe,
for
I don't
butchering
know.
these names, but that whole chapter when they go up to the gods with the hexagrams and the fortune telling, that's not the proper way to describe it, but that's how I'm going to describe it. That was really confusing for me.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because someone in our Fable group mentioned, I mean, it makes sense, but there's actually a study of like hexagrams. That's a real legit thing. And so this person wrote in human design the hexagram that she gets. It's called the taming power of the great, or the gate of the egoist. In Gene Keys, the frequency shifts from the shadow of pride to the gift of artfulness and the city of invisibility. So it's kind of interesting that there's all these real things woven into this fantasy book. I don't know. Makes me kind of want to like look into that stuff a little bit more.
Yeah, I saw that comment and I thought that was interesting
Mhm.
because I knew nothing about that. I like when people can educate me
Oh, 100%.
on things. So I just loved seeing people get excited about certain things in the book that maybe they weren't expecting to read about, that they knew about.
Mhm.
Because I honestly went into this book pretty blind. I wish I knew more about this history, and the more that I've learned about it since this book has been very enlightening.
Mhm.
So we're going to share some thoughts that we had while reading and kind of try to go in the order of events.
Mhm.
And does anyone want to start? Because I feel like we talked a lot about the beginning part.
Oh, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I found it really, I mean, Rin took it very far with like how far she went to like get into the school and like
Mhm.
wouldn't suggest people doing that, and like
She's burning herself with wax to
burning
stay
yourself in
awake.
wax, but I find it very like not motivational but like invigorating. Like you can do hard things. Like that was like it was just really something different than, because I feel like a lot of books we read, things come really easy and natural to
Mhm.
you know, main characters.
Mhm.
And Rin was already smart, but she like trained herself to be smart and like
Oh, yeah.
remember things. And I love that portion. And I forgot which one mentioned about the character development. I think it was Gyukin, or I can't remember.
Mhm.
It was just very interesting to see her at the very beginning to the end.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Like she
she's
could do
almost
anything-
unrecognizable.
Yeah. It was like she did she could do anything she put her mind to. She's like a good example of that. But also, isn't there, I don't remember who says it, or maybe she says it. Something about like becoming the thing that you hate. Maybe
It's either her.
I wish I could have written it down.
John.
But yeah, it's like, yeah, she kind of became that thing that she never thought she would
Mhm.
be. But then it's like every step she took to get there. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, her character development was very interesting to watch unfold.
It was like forward character development and then backward character development. It was
interesting.
really unique, and I
Yeah.
was obsessed with it. To Michaela's point, I thought it was really cool because a lot of the fantasy books you read about these women who are they have this end goal, right? They're always doing these physical things. They're training physically, while Rin obviously did end up training physically. At the beginning, it was all mental. She was memorizing these texts, and it was a test of her her mental ability, not her physical ability, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
super unique. I was reading a Goodreads review, and apparently, whether or not R.F. Kuang meant to do this, this reviewer said that the Kiju, which is the test that she takes, it was a real exam system in ancient China. But it was a series of tests taken as an assessment of the outcome of one's education to eventually qualify them for a job, not as a college entrance exam. So in the United States, think like your medical boards instead of like the SAT or the ACT.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that makes sense that they would have exams similar in China, but yeah, it was just interesting to me to hear that it's based on something that actually happens, which I think a lot of this book is based on things. So that's kind of cool. Following kind of like after she goes to Singard, I was obsessed with Zhang from the moment he stepped on that little stage in front of everyone. The fact that he was just this misfit in this group of teachers. I mean, it was probably pretty glaringly obvious for everyone, maybe not, but obviously I knew he was going to be a bigger part of the story.
Yeah.
There's no way he sticks out like a sore thumb, and he's not. I just loved him. The fact that everybody thought he was this low-level professor, nobody really cared what he had to say, when in reality, he's like one of the most powerful beings. Just was chef's kiss.
During that whole montage of her training with Zhuang, this is so bad, and I hate that I went this way. It just reminded me of Kung Fu Panda.
Literally, okay, I wasn't going to say this, but Zhang, I pictured Jack Black the entire time.
Oh,
really?
okay.
I pictured Rin as, I forget, Po?
Poe. Yeah.
Because, not that Rin is the same as Poe, but like, kind of this, I wrote it down, an underestimated student.
Yes.
Like, Rin was very underestimated because of the background she came from. And then Zhuang, I couldn't decide between Master Shifu or the turtle. Because you know how the turtle is kind of like talks in like riddles and like very whimsical, but like he knows what he's doing. And like Master Shifu making Poe do like these training montages that don't make sense, but then later make sense. That's just what I was going to, and I was eating it up because I was like, wait, this is really cool. Anyways, that's what I could think of was Kung Fu Panda.
Love it.
Yeah, I literally pictured Zhang as Jack Black. Now, I know he would never be cast in the adaptation. You're obviously not going to cast a white man as that character, but for some reason, I don't know if it's just the way he acted at the first bit.
Yeah.
But that's the only person I could picture for the first little while.
Like an unserious.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, very zen. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. So.
Talks in riddles.
Yeah.
And I was like, what were you even saying? Anyways, sorry. Love that. Do you have anything you want to add?
I don't think so.
Okay, sorry. I was going to go to the next thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
for it.
I felt very different about this character towards the end. But Alton, I was obsessed with the mysteriousness, and then I really loved how he was kind of, what's the word? Like, everyone wanted to beat him.
He was like put on this pedestal, kind of. Yeah.
And I loved how everyone was like, I want to beat him. And I just loved like the mysteriousness of him. And being the I can't think.
Spearly?
Spearly, yeah. Sorry. Isn't there another book that's like Sealy?
I don't know.
Okay. Searly. Spearly. Gosh, dang it. And you kind of want to like know more info. And then you called it about Ren. I had no idea. I didn't call it.
I was just like, there's got to be something. And I swear at one point it was mentioned like about she was hot. And I was like, oh, she's got to be Spear. And then also she was a war orphan. And I was like, okay, that's got to come into play somehow.
I figured that was the case because I've seen it. It just kind of seemed inevitable a little bit. But I liked it. But yeah, Alton was...
Oh, yeah.
There was a comment on the Fable. Someone said something like, I can't believe I'm like this many pages in and I'm realizing like there's not any like I'm eating this up and I'm realizing there's no romance.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of kept being like, ooh, and then I was like, I kind of gotta like take the romance out of my brain for a second because this book didn't need it.
Well, I feel like if there would have been a heavy romantic underlying plot, it just didn't feel very on brand for Rin.
No.
That wasn't her priority.
No.
While I do think there was a little bit of romance.
I was gaslighting myself.
Yeah.
I saw your comment on Fable.
Oh, I didn't see it. What did you say?
Okay, so I felt like there was this weird dynamic between Najat, Rin, and
Alton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But obviously
that didn't happen.
Yeah. I was gaslighting myself. I was like, what's going on? I was trying to put things in the book that weren't in there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There was this weird, especially with Alton.
It's like brotherly.
But then she was
like attracted to him kind of.
Yes, yeah. I don't know. It was a weird dynamic.
I was getting whiplash.
Yeah.
Well, at one point there was a comment made and someone was like, are you guys gonna bring back the Spearleys? Like, are you guys gonna have babies? But then obviously Rin cannot have children. But yeah. And then obviously Alton dies. But
yeah, that was yeah.
But we're getting a little ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. I don't know if there's anything in between that you guys want to talk about, but when I mean, obviously we kind of already touched on it, but we have the Neja and Rin battle sequence where they're taking on this big bad guy. Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm going back. Sorry, we're jumping all over the place, but something that I found really kind of wholesome a little bit was when Katai, is that how you say his name, took Rin during one of the breaks and took him to his house.
That was cute.
The babies, the little babies with the wieners. Yes, no, but literally there was an illustration of that scene, and there's just this little baby statue. Like, sprays out like, so cute. I just thought, Katai. I'm sorry, you guys. Katai and Rin's relationship just warmed my heart.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then later on, we have this scene where I actually was sobbing. We'll get to it, but.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so following, she gets shipped off to be with the psych. The only thing I could picture while this whole interaction is happening where she's with this band of misfits who they don't know what the heck to do with them. Not that they're criminals. All I could picture was Suicide Squad.
Yeah. You commented that on Goodreads and I was like, what? And then I got it. I was like, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. It just was like, this government is taking these people. They're on their own little team.
Yeah.
And they are tasked with things that nobody else can do.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It just was like, Suicide Squad. So that was fun for me.
I feel like that's where it like took the sharpest turn for me.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, okay. We're doing this. I don't know where this is going, but we're doing it.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of like my every chapter. That's kind of how I felt from then on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was like, okay.
All right.
And around that time when she gets shipped there, we kind of get this little additional POV. And I was a little confused from, I can't remember his name, but he was the leader of the psych. He was on that ship.
Oh.
And the Empress. You kind of get that little seed where you're like, oh, maybe she's not as good as we think she is.
Mm-hmm.
Which was really interesting. At first I was pissed off. I'm like, why are we getting this random person's point of view? And then kind of made sense.
It
But
like switches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then that's where I started to feel Alton's character development started to change too.
Kind of started to hate him.
But I feel like there was foreshadowing when Kuang was talking about him to Rin. but
when you hear his like backstory,
Yes.
and he kind of tells her
Yes.
like everything. Yeah.
yes,
Well,
about like how he's worse than Rin is with like the approval and the need to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's why Zhuang didn't train him,
Mm-hmm.
because it's almost like he couldn't control it. And it was, yeah, anyway, so it was like a love-hate relationship with him. I don't
Because
know.
you loved him because you empathize with him because he's a spear and he has this
Yeah.
anger within him that honestly is warranted because
Mhm.
his whole island
World,
was
yeah.
basically destroyed. It was really, and obviously she did this on purpose, but the contrasting values of Zhuang and Alton, because their teachings were complete
Oh,
opposites.
And I didn't know what was the right answer.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of feel like that plays a part and role into a lot of the decisions that Rin made. Like seeing where it ends up from where she began to where she ended
Mm-hmm.
was all dependent on a lot of, not all dependent, but the way that she was, like her masters played a big role in that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like how she was taught.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say with the psych, the part that had me laughing out loud was, I can't remember his name, the pyromaniac that loves exploding things. Ramza, when he exploded something and
The building.
yeah, and then Rin had to be like, it was an accident.
When he's young, right?
Yeah,
He's
and
pretty
so
young.
I just thought that was so funny because I just like how Rin was like, it was just an accident. It was an unfortunate accident.
Well, and can you just picture all of these people with such differing powers? I mean, you have a guy that's water. I was having a hard time picturing, like, was he literally just a human standing but water? I don't know.
Yeah, that was,
And then you have the guy that's, I don't know if he turned into a monkey or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was gaining power from the monkey god, I believe. I'm not sure. And then you have Alton and Rin, and then you have the twins. Just
Yeah.
the dynamics was so interesting. Something I have to kind of put in here is, and maybe this isn't the right spot to put it in, but every time Rin and Alton would light up, all I could picture was Jack Jack.
you know what? That's a fair comparison.
Jack Jack gets upset and then he just like lights on fire.
Or
Yeah.
like Johnny from
Flame on.
Flame On.
Yeah, I don't know why. It just kept popping into my brain, but the dynamic
I
of
was
the psych.
picturing it's not the same. I've just been on my Hunger Games grind. Like, you know, like their their
Yeah.
costumes light up on the
Yeah.
parade.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, and they're kind of like pissed off face.
Yeah.
I was kind of picturing flames like that. But then I'm like, no, it's got to be more like of a massive, like,
It's
Like Flame on
the
Johnny.
eyes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm out. Like
Everything's on fire.
Jack. That's,
This girl is
yep, that's the one. Jack.
Yeah. Jack for sure. For sure.
Just all our, I guess Kung Fu Panda isn't Disney, but you know. we love
Sometimes your
finding
brain just has to make
works.
connections in any way that
well,
you
yeah,
can.
we love an unhinged fan cast.
I don't know. Then I feel like the next kind of part that I want to talk about is the gas
oh yeah.
with Nezha.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys think he's really dead?
No.
I don't think he is either.
Mm-mm.
I think he's alive.
But you know, I think he's alive, but also I'm like, he's almost died twice.
Yeah, he's alive. I think he's alive.
I think
I
he
didn't
is
really
too.
think about it.
Mhm. I think he just he'll come back and play a bigger part. I don't know why. I just have that feeling.
Yeah. I have a feeling too that he's alive.
Like, she obviously was super upset at Alton for not allowing her to go and get him,
Mhm.
but I just don't feel like we got enough from Rin grieving his quote death that he's not alive. He's alive.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
I don't know.
I don't know why I didn't really think about it.
It was also giving another very popular book. It was written after this book, The Crawling.
Ah.
Yeah.
Ah.
I won't say what book.
Yes. Yes.
I was connecting the mental dots.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Crawling.
Yeah. In
Yeah,
a war.
I got
Yep.
yeah.
Mhm.
I got ya.
Yeah. Same thing, different font.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like Najah's story is not
It's not done.
done, but it could also be like a spirit for I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like he
Yeah,
plays a bigger role. He may not be like alive. I don't know.
I don't know where the next book is going, but I
Mm.
just have the gut feeling. I don't know why.
Well then, no, I won't skip to this part. Never mind. Just kidding.
Was that the part you were going to say that made you sob?
Oh, no, it was in
Oh.
chapter 21. So I don't know if we want to jump that far towards chapter 21.
With
That was
Mm-hmm.
Katai.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we jumping there?
I'm trying to think.
Oh,
Before then.
Before yes. Okay. This was actually the turning point. No. I think this was before the gas because Alton like grabs Rin
Oh, yes.
and then Najah was like, what the heck happened?
Mm-hmm.
Love that.
Mm-hmm.
Love that.
did
Because
this to
Alton
you?
I was like,
Yeah.
whatever you doing, bro?
Uh-huh.
What the heck? What's going on?
It just
You're turning into this monster.
well, it just illustrated how he had zero control.
Yeah.
Zero at that point.
Also, was it so shocking to you guys when he was just like what it was the drug?
Opium?
Opium addict. I didn't expect that.
He's just chilling in the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. But it made sense to me though once you
Yes,
knew,
yeah.
you know, which we don't have to get into this too much, but like the opium stuff, I was thinking that it was kind of like when I was reading the book, I just thought it was something she added, but like no, the whole
Mm-mm.
opium thing is
Mhm.
like a whole thing in history with the British and
China?
Japan, and it's wild.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I was like reading about that today and I was like, holy cow.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was like a big deal. Anyways, but yeah, it made a lot of sense. I mean, the
Mhm.
poor
Yeah,
poor guy.
was not in control of
Yeah.
No.
anything.
No.
Yeah.
So, okay. Now I feel like jumping into
Yeah.
chapter 21 is
Mhm.
I don't know. Before reading this book, I had heard people check the trigger warnings. This is a really dark series. And starting it, I just was thinking, I don't understand. Not that I didn't understand, but I was just like, maybe it's the next books that get really dark. Then chapter 21 hit, and I was like, this is what everybody is talking about. I have never read anything that was so detailed, so disturbing in a book before, and I don't know if I'll ever read anything like that again. The scene, I mean, the entire chapter just had me sobbing. The atrocities that happened at what was the city's name? Golan-Nis? Golan-Nis? I'm not saying it right. It was horrific. I do remember when Rin is running around trying to find Katai and just screaming his name, sobbed. And then she found him, sobbed. And then when you see Venka, sobbed. Like that entire chapter just was like one punch after the other, after the other, after the other. And for those of you who are listening, I watched this YouTube video. I can't remember the creator's name, but he basically was kind of talking about all the Chinese history that is entwined in Poppy War. And there was a massacre. I can't remember the name. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Basically, there was a war between China and Japan.
Yeah.
And there was a massacre that this whole chapter was inspired by. And that just truly breaks my heart and makes me so sick to my stomach.
I think R.F. Kuang named it the Forgotten Holocaust. Like I think there is an actual name, but it's like something Forgotten Holocaust. And in the back of her books, she has like sources for all of her info that you can like go and read. And she's like, it's very detailed in specific to where I got the inspiration for chapter 21. So,
well, and I think in this video that this creator made, when this episode goes live, maybe I'll share this video because it was really insightful. There was a lot of information, not even just from chapter 21. He had kind of explained, I think Katai might have said this, where they were basically competing to see how many people they could kill. There was 2 generals that actually did that to see how many people they could kill. And just the fact that when fiction blends with reality, it just like, I don't even have words to describe just how horrific that is. And just the fact that I've never even heard about it honestly breaks my heart until this book.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well said.
It was,
I was listening to it and I was in my car and I literally had to, there was parts like something would start to be said and I literally just had to like turn my volume down. And I felt kind of bad because I'm like, I feel like I should be like not skipping out on any of this because it is something that has probably actually happened. But I found myself like, I finished that chapter and I drove in silence for a very long time, just kind of like letting things settle. Because there's a lot of heartbreaking things I've read in books, but yeah, like you said, like nothing to that extent. And then, yeah, to know that stuff like that has actually happened, it's just not something that you ever forget.
I just appreciate that this book caused me to learn something that I didn't know about. And yeah.
I think it also, it sucks reading that stuff, but I personally think if she would have dulled anything down, it wouldn't have shown how brutal war is. And I feel like war, it's terrible. And I especially feel like for fantasy books, sometimes you don't grasp the concept of like how terrible it is. And I think in my brain, it really just solidified that I feel like there's a lot that authors kind of don't, they like kind of skim over. But I think it was necessary to show how brutal the war was. And yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah, the book would have been a lot different had she glossed over any detail. So,
well, and I think that moment, as well as when her and Alton get taken to be test subjects, I think that solidified in Rin's brain the rage that she had and the, what's the word I'm looking for? The vengeance she wanted to have. I think that was kind of the turning point for her, that like there was no going back.
Yeah.
So
I feel like we're getting towards the end. Is there anything else? I feel very conflicted towards the end of the book because I understand what Rin did, but I also think she did the exact same thing.
Oh, 100%.
You know? And so I'm like,
yeah, she became the person. Yeah.
She became what she hated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Literally going back to what Reggie said earlier.
Yeah. And I don't know how I feel about her.
Well, it's the anti-hero.
Yeah.
You know, you don't, I don't know. It's, and part of the reason that I enjoyed this book was like the fact that Rin most of the time wasn't super likable.
Yeah.
She wasn't this person that you always rooted for because she kind of had this edge to her. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the end. I kind of feel like Katai's going to be her saving grace.
Yeah.
Because everybody on that boat, maybe you guys disagree. I got the vibe that the psych and everybody on the boat wasn't really disappointed in Rin. And Katai was the only one that was like, what you did was wrong.
Yeah.
And I love him for that.
Yeah. I was trying to find
it's almost like, sorry.
Oh no, go for it. I was gonna say there was a comment I saw on a YouTube video. And I thought this was like an interesting perspective. So Someone said, I must be a terrible person because I don't actually feel that Rin is that bad of a person. She definitely does some horrific things, but for most of the book, I think she's a young girl who's reacting normally to the failure of her mentor figures. She's never had anyone there for her until Syndergaard, and even then, the people who are trying to teach her basically give up on her the moment she shows signs of not agreeing with them. Everyone's quick to judge her, but nobody around her offers her any other options. Basically, a just run away, don't be a monster too, when she's essentially staring in the face of extinction. The only people who stay by her are those who encourage her rage, so why wouldn't she give in to the rage? Which I just thought was kind of an interesting
Yeah. I didn't have a problem with Rin. Like, I liked her until the very end.
Mm-hmm.
And not saying I don't like her. I just feel like I have this moral dilemma that I'm like,
totally.
I just feel like my brain is, no matter what, it's an evil thing.
Yeah. It's very black and white.
Yes.
Yeah. But in her mind, there's gray.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really interested to see in where the next book goes, and if it's going to be centered around Rin having this inner turmoil of, is what I did right or wrong?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I definitely did not see the book ending that way.
Oh, same.
I had no idea how I thought it was going to end, but it not like that. Well,
you think Alton's dead, right? Like,
yeah, I think he's dead.
Okay.
But
I thought that makes her the last, which
spear.
makes things and like the stakes, a little higher.
But also, going back on what I literally just said, I don't know if she's going to feel remorse because she gave herself to the Phoenix, completely and totally.
I feel like maybe the second book is maybe fighting the Phoenix, like within herself.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like it was kind of towards the end that she kind of was, a little bit like, I can't differentiate between like myself and the Phoenix. So maybe like this.
Ooh, I like and
maybe Katai like kind of trying to pull her out, because Alton did the same thing for
the
yes.
What is his name? I know his name. Hold on.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
he did it for Suni.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't know. That's where I'm thinking maybe
Neja. Neja. He comes back. He's her grounding. Her grounding person.
I don't know. So
I don't have many theories for the next book. After reading this, I don't think I could even guess where she's going to take it.
Yeah. Remind me. So the end of the book, it's towards the Empress, right? That's where their goal is like
maybe it'll be them against the Empress, them overtaking her.
Yeah. Wasn't that like the plan at the very end, correct?
She left
the psych
she told everyone. Yeah.
She kind of left the psych for
Well, the psych are on the boat with her. Yeah, she's with the psych.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Oh.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't catch that.
Yeah, because she's with the psych, but the Empress, they find out that
Rin's with the psych?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. No, I'm saying with the Empress.
Oh, yeah.
She's not with the Empress.
Oh, no. She's with Rin's with the psych.
Yeah,
she's with the psych.
I was like, the Empress is on the boat?
No, sorry. No. I thought when you said she, I thought you meant Rin.
Yes.
Yeah, I get it. Because Rin finds out that the reason, essentially, why Golan Nis got attacked was because of the Empress.
Yeah.
She told them where everybody was going to be.
She was doing a little tattletale.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well.
Wild.
What a ride that was. And we are buckling up for books 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
We hope you enjoyed the Poppy War. And if you didn't, maybe we'll enjoy our April book club book, which is The Conditions of Will by Jessa Hastings.
Yay.
And I just have to say, if you are still listening and you have missed our episode that recently came out with Jessa Hastings, I really encourage you guys to go listen, go watch. She is so brilliant and has such a beautiful mind. And we really appreciate the feedback that we've gotten on that episode, and just are really grateful for Jessa's time that she took. And after talking to her, I am even more excited to dive into this book. And It's standalone.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah, even if you haven't read any of her other books, Jessa even suggested starting with this one
Yeah.
because it's a standalone one.
yeah.
Also, this isn't a spoiler or anything, but the main character of the Conditions of Will does make a cameo in the Magnolia Park series.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
if you've read Magnolia Parks, you might recognize her name.
Yeah. So everybody go tune into that if you would like. And she even gives you a little more of a glimpse into what to expect from that book. But yeah, thanks so much for tuning into this episode. And as a reminder, you can follow along with our monthly book club books on our Fable, which is linked on our TikTok and our Instagram bio. It's a fun place to be. And yeah, can't wait to read along with you guys next month. Thanks for tuning in. Leave us a review if you like this episode. And we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.